People have been attacking Israel for, supposedly attacking Christians like J.D. DeLay does, or, bombing churches, persecuting Christians, all this shit. But blaming Israel for getting involved in Nigeria to protect the Christians. And just like they did the Syrians, they just can't fucking win. Even if they were trying to protect Christians, they get attacked for it. They just can't fucking win. It's fucking insane, man.
Yeah.
You also have Professor Dave Explains, who is an academic guy who is also now spreading anti-Semitic conspiracies and anti-Israeli lies.
But we were fascinated
We're
more
losing the
about
propaganda war from both sides.
we were mostly fascinated about the guy from the right who started hating on Israel. That's why I took him as an example. But anyways, let's see what Oscar has to share.
Yeah, I mean, the hatred from the right, I think, has been historically more intense towards Jews than from the left, to be honest. I think that unfortunately Israel, and then having the Star of David on his flag, and a lot of Jewish people live there. You guys are kind of, unfortunately, the symbol that two religions, like two of the biggest religions in the world, really don't like. And I think that this puts you, guys, in a very difficult position, because you'll get these right-wing people. And I've heard people say, oh, but evangelicals like us, they want us to go back. But yeah, you're like, this is like you're like a means to their theological, do you think they'll let you remain Jews, the evangelicals, once the Messiah comes back? Like, no, of course not.
Every contribution that they give to the IDF is with passages from the New Testament, just for
Yeah, so I also see this kind of like increase in the right, Tucker Carlson, the Candace Owens, the new guys, repeating very old Christian types about Jews. Like, they're repeating like very, very old stereotypes. And I think like nowadays, I feel like the left is more aligned with the Islamists, and the right over here in the West more aligned with Israel. However, I always see that union, especially from the theological aspect, somewhat suspicious, because you guys are a mean for their theological goals, and you guys occupy a certain space in their theological frame of mind, right? As rejectors of Jesus Christ, and this keeps on coming up over and over. And I'm afraid that in the U.S. there's going to be an upswing of religious Christian revival, which I've kind of been seeing a little bit, especially in like younger generations. And they might read the Bible, and they might come to the realization of a couple things that might be so savory about other people, about minorities, about women, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I think we're kind of getting by the right and the left. Both sides very anti-liberal, both
What's the
sides.
solution?
I think group are the solution, where people come and dialogue and actually test ideas. Maybe like if somebody pushes back, you have to like argue back using evidence and these kinds of things. I think also, at least I try to, when I speak to people that I know that are, into these kinds of things, I try to really, instead of just preaching to them my own truth, I try to ask them some of the questions about what they believe. And I have the confidence that the truth, that if your ideas are good, that they're going to withstand scrutiny and pressure. And hopefully they might change their approach to it. Like, for example, my brother, he converted to Christianity, like a very intense version of baptism. And we have these conversations, and I've been kind of softening him up a little bit, speaking of slavery and how it's portrayed in the Bible. And I've slowly seen him change his mind a little bit about those kinds of things. I think approaching people, asking them, I think you're doing a great job, Armin, by having a YouTube channel and doing things. I think it helps. A little grain of sand, but these kinds of things change. And then we vote. We go and vote, right?
I have a lot of hopes for this group that we're in right now.
Yeah.
You see pro-Israel evangelicals starting to turn against the Israel? Is it just a new generation that's getting into Christianity that says more anti-Israel?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Man, like, will you say like a new generation that's turning more anti-Israel, or like with the evangelicals?
Or do you actually see evangelicals who are pro-Israel right now changing their mind and turning against it? What do you see?
I definitely see the younger generation. I mean, I don't interact with all Gen Zs, but when I go to the gym and I interact with the younger people, some of the things that I've heard, I'm quite shocked, to be honest. Like some of the very old school tropes about Jews poisoning wells or poisoning water in Palestine and these kinds of things. So I've seen that. And then definitely from like the Catholic side, like for example, Nick Fuentes is a Catholic, Candace Owens Catholic. Definitely has always been a historical tension between, Jews and Catholics. I think the church and many have like softened up in the recent years, but still I think it's always lurking underneath, unfortunately. I think Christianity needs that. The fact that, and then I see some evangelicals supporting this, but then I'm always kind of suspicious of when somebody does it for theological reasons, especially when the religion that you're, holding, the person that the Jews in this case, occupy a specific role, right? Or they occupy a certain role in the story or in your myth. In this case, they're needed for your end of game kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So will you tolerate them once your Messiah comes back? Because it has been clear that throughout the centuries you haven't done that. So I'm a little suspicious of when when you say that, and I don't know. I don't think your help is genuine. You might be helping, but I don't think it's genuine.
What practical negatives could really come from that? Because you say, well, are they going to be tolerant when the Messiah comes? Well, in other words, what are they going to be tolerant when Jesus comes back? Well, that's the thing. That's not going to happen because
Yeah, I got time. That's what I wanted to say. I got time, bro.
exactly, it ain't going to happen. He ain't coming back. So any scenario that involves Jesus coming back and what happens to the Jews when that happens, it doesn't matter because because that's fiction.
Because if you think that if I know that you're supporting me because you think Jesus is going to come and wipe me out, I would like, okay, this is not a real friendship, is there?
No, but if it's not going to happen, then that means they're just going to keep waiting for it to happen. But it's not going to happen.
I'll take your support, but I also think that you're crazy and like
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
like this through.
Yeah, absolutely. You're fucking crazy, but I can use you. Exactly. That's what it comes down to. And no, when Jesus comes back, it won't be good for it. According to their end time scenario, when Jesus comes back, 2/3, he's going to kill 2/3, and 1/3 is going to convert. But yeah, but basically, to what it comes down to is basically 2/3. The Antichrist is going to come first, and when he comes, he's going to kill the third that converts during his reign and kill them.
Let's move on to the list. The point is clear. And everything that ends with, I call it the whole fireworks show with the whole shebang, and I'm done with it. If we are waiting for God to come down, I'm fine with it. I can live waiting.
Yeah. It's all about practicalities.
Oh, it's my turn. Yeah, so before we jumped into old generation Catholic racism, we were talking about this right versus left versus Jews thing. And Armin asked, how are we to solve it? And the only thing that popped to my mind was America needs a better system or laws. It doesn't have to be laws. It can be also systems that monitor information, because I think that Americans are in a higher risk of being propagandized by other forces than other people. I think it has to do something with the culture and the materialistic life that happens in America, as the way it should in a wealthy society. But I think that they have too much time on their hands, in other words. And I think that they are more likely to be propagandized by foreign sources. And I think that they need to come up with some, maybe like an AI thing or a VPN that goes over America and put like a flag on anything that is not very reliable. Or let's say this thing is 50% reliable, this thing is, because you get stupid. And when you get stupid as a society, lots of problems are starting. I think it could solve some of the gender ideology problem that they have over there, some of the male versus female problems that they have over there, some of the Islamic problems they have over there, and what they should focus and talk about and what they shouldn't. I think something like this might help.
Wait, what is this exactly? Like, it's a government initiative that does what? Like, is it a government initiative?
I would assume so, yeah, that roam the internet and put flags on things, how reliable they are, maybe.
Yeah. Wouldn't okay, so basically a truth ministry. Okay, so the problem if the private sector does that, and we have different fact-finding private organizations that are competing with each other, I would be all for that. But I
Maybe
wouldn't rely on the
50-50.
government. No, I wouldn't give the power to the government to tell us citizens what's the truth. That is a recipe for disaster. Imagine if all of a sudden they decide that, I don't know. Imagine if you give them that power and all of a sudden they elect a government that says if you deny that there are 27 genders, then you're going to be flagged as untrue. It's like, yeah, you don't want to, you can't trust the government for that. You need to have it, you need to rely on the private sector for stuff like this. That's too much
Maybe.
power for the government. Yeah.
Maybe.
I
Maybe.
agree with you. I think we can talk about the animal kingdom.
Hila, but
Yeah.
let's get to you on this in a minute, okay? But Greg?
I jumped in late, but I think I heard Oscar speculating in response to a question about which denominations of Christians are more apt to become anti-Israel or to buy into the anti-Israel propaganda. If I heard correctly, I would say that I think it's hard to tell. I think on the left side of the political spectrum, the churches that are flying the rainbow flags are not the more conservative churches like the Catholic Church. They would be more progressive, and the more progressive you go, or those people are anti-Israel. On the right side of the political spectrum, I know Fuentes is Catholic, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. I don't know what kind of evidence there is that anti-Israel sentiment is growing in the Catholic Church. I mean, I'm Catholic. I was mentored by a Catholic priest.
I didn't say that.
Okay, yeah, but I was mentored by a. So yeah, but so I went to a college, and this Catholic priest used to run trips to Israel every year, and he was a strong advocate of Israel and a big fan of the Israeli people. He used to speak highly about them all the time.
So your point is that lots of Catholic are fans of Israel.
I know. Again, I was just speculating. I was adding to the speculation. I thought I heard a question asked about which denominations of Christians are more apt to be anti-Israel, and so if I heard that correctly, I was just speculating on that.
Okay, Hila, you had something to say about the truth?
So they didn't need to adjust to running fast like a cat and, thinking fast and moving fast and like doing the impossible. They can just fall down and wait and calm enough because nobody.
You're so correct. I'm sorry because I'm catching your drift. And like people from Russia, they catch this shit mid-air. Like sometimes I don't believe it. You're right.
It's just evolution. But this continent, once penguin will meet some predator, it could be even a small predator, you will wipe them out. A small group of an incapable predator will kill the penguin. And yeah, I don't know if the solution is this or that or how the mechanism will work, but you're on point about they need to handle it. Private section, whatever, they need to address it. They need to bring back critical thinking and
Back from BLM riots, they need to work on this. Yeah. Who did we have? Samantha, Dajjal, and Armin.
I mean, I was just going to say, like, I don't really care that much if the reason they're helping me is because they think it'll bring Jesus back. Like, I always say with, like, Muslims, like, if someone thinks they're supposed to kill me after rocks and trees start talking to them, you know, like, that's none of my business. I care about the person who thinks they're supposed to kill me before the rocks and trees start talking to them, you know? And that's all I have to say.
That was witty. That was really witty.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's all about practicalities. Do they want to do now versus what's going to happen when Jesus comes back? Are they going to be a problem now or until then? Because if it's until then it's not that much of a practical problem. They're still crazy, but if you want to have in the meantime, then it's not that big of a deal. As far as who's more anti-Semitic in Christianity, I think it's pretty clear to me that most of the pro-Israel Christians, well, most of them. That doesn't mean there aren't Catholic Zionists, because there are. Orthodox Zionists. There definitely are. But from what I've seen, at least online, the zeitgeist seems to be revolving around the more traditional forms of Christianity, like Catholicism and Orthodoxy. Because they are the most ornate, I guess you could say, of the Christianity, and they have a strong history of anti-Semitism. They're also the least Judaic of all the Christianities. Catholicism and Orthodoxy are the most European forms of Christianity, the most pagan, frankly. They're really into the very ornate doctrines that harken back to the church fathers, all of which were basically anti-Semitic. And it just seems what they seem to be going to. I mean, a lot of them may just be LARPers. Maybe they just like the aesthetics and the ritual and all that. But there's definitely a history behind that.
I liked what Samantha said. It sounds pretty true. However, I have an issue with it. Because somebody who says that they think Jews should be killed only when the rocks and the trees start speaking, they are still a concern today. But they're not a concern for you. There might be less of a concern regarding them killing you, but anybody that has a view of you being deserving of death because of being Jewish, even if they don't kill you, they're not going to treat you the way you're supposed to be, you deserve to be treated, like with that view of you. So there is still an issue here. There is still a concern. Like they might discriminate you in ways that might necessarily not be like murder. But that's most of your friends think you deserve to be killed when the trees and the rocks start speaking. You need better friends. Okay, that's what you wrote in the chat, but that's most of my friends. Yeah, I mean, okay. So I don't know. I don't know if I could consider somebody a friend when they think that of me. Even if they don't want to kill me right now, the fact that they think that's okay is a huge concern. So, and also regarding, I have some good news for Greg, because I went and looked at the data regarding whether Catholics are actually more anti-Jewish or not, and apparently they're not. So we have Pew Research saying 2023 data indicates 30% of U.S. adults have very or somewhat favorable views of Jews versus 6% unfavorable. This was 2023. Catholics specifically rate Jews warmly, average 66 out of 100, often ranking Jews higher than they rank evangelicals or Muslims. While evangelical Protestants tend to rate Jews slightly warmer, approximately 69 to 71 over 100, than Catholics do, which is 62 to 60 over 100. However, a rating of 66 is still firmly positive. It's more than average in America. Comparing less warm to against, okay, so it's basically it's just a semantic error. It's not that big of a deal. And ADL Global 100 data has shown that while Christians in the US, including Catholics, have relatively low rates of anti-Semitic attitudes, approximately 9 to 11%, they are significantly lower than the global average, which is 26%, or rates in the Middle East and North Africa, which is 74%. Holy fucking shit! Right. So yeah, I mean, America's pretty good here compared to the rest of the world, and Catholics also look pretty good here compared to the rest of the world.
Is that anti-Semitism? Is that, I'm sorry, is that view based on how these people view Jews or as individuals, or how they view the state of Israel?
I have to go. No, these are Jews. This is Jews. And by the way, 74% in Middle East and North Africa. Holy, that's like, isn't that crazy? And the global average is 26%. Like, you are hated by 1/4 of the fucking planet.
Yeah.
A quarter of the planet hates you. What the fuck? It's crazy.
And you're like, why don't you go abroad? Yeah. Only 1 out of 4 will fucking hate you and want to kill you. What's the problem?
That is.
Don't talk to anybody. I want to ask you guys something. You are trying to tell us that people are hate. Okay, we know there is a religious war above our head. Okay, everybody here has inspiration about their property. Everybody. I mean, we have a thing called Jerusalem syndrome. It's where people come to Jerusalem and they get tripped and thinking they're the new Messiah. It's like, it's a thing. It's happening, okay? It's fine. I mean, we're trying to make it work with all these people with the inspiration. But I'm hearing between the lines, I'm not sure I understand. You're trying to tell us there is bigger issues coming from some side that we don't see. We have a blind spot. All of you talking about different sides of Christianity. I feel like maybe there is something you are trying to tell me and I don't understand. Can you explain?
Can you repeat that question?
From something specifically that I don't get? Are we talking in code?
Did you ever heard about the Global Church Organization? No. Okay. It's
don't
one of the
understand
most
Gila's
powerful
question.
organizations.
Oh, cool. Go, sorry.
The Global Church Organization, and I know this from, I'm translating it in my head because I heard this source in Hebrew. So I might butchering off the name a little bit, but it's a pretty big organization of churches. They have a lot of money, a lot of donors. I don't know if they are majority Protestant or Catholic. I have no idea. But I do know that they give a lot of money. They give a lot of money for causes that, let's say, will cringe us a little bit as Jews sometimes. Not many Jews know this. For example, this organization is, I think, maybe the strongest and only example of actual promoting ideas and giving money for ideas that are against the Israeli state on a wide variety of topics. And they're very rich and powerful, and it's kind of scary. I understand this is a risk. Is there any other things that my fellow Christian friends here know and want to talk about?
What,
Okay,
it's like
that's
the
good.
board of the Pope, it's related to the Vatican, it's unrelated, global, it's philosophical.
I don't understand what the question is here. Can somebody explain to us what's happening? Like, what are we discussing exactly?
What Jews don't see in Christians, basically, because I think that Hila can come with a premise to the question that Jews trust Christian right now. And what do we miss? Because our friends here saying, you get this wrong. You know, the Christians are kind of like this and this and that. And she's asking, like, is there something beneath the surface that we don't see in the fear of the churches that we need to know?
Well, let the Christian respond. Greg is our Christian representative.
I'm still not sure what the question is, honestly. I listened to you carefully there, and I'm still not clear on what your question is.
Are you hiding a secret from the Jews about Christianity?
No, I mean, I'm not accusing you. You're all talking about the difference between different kind of Christianity. I didn't really understand the conversation between you, not all the words, but are you trying to say something that you're not saying when you're discussing this discussion that I don't understand completely?
Oh, no.
Look at you. No, I'm kidding.
There's no coded communication there. No, I think there was a question at some point, and therefore there was some speculation as to which denominations of Christians tend to be more anti-Israel or anti-Jewish. I would say that more left-leaning or more, the Christian churches that have opened themselves up to progressivism, I would suspect their members are more apt to be anti-Israel. I would say that the people who have fallen into this Groyper movement might be young men who are it's possible that they would gravitate towards more hardline conservative churches like the Greek Orthodox Church, simply because they're kind of backlashing against everything they can't stand about the left.